everybody, and welcome to Inclusively. And with Be My Eyes, they're our guests today. And we're going to be talking about creating a more accessible world with the AI. And I am hosting this with Chris Lewis, my partner in crime, and is founding director at Lewis Inside. I'm Monica Paulina Sansafili. And our guests today are Hans Weiberg, the founder of BeMyEyes, and Jasper Harrison, the CTO of BeMyEyes. And they have an incredible story to tell us. But I'm going to let Chris introduce us the topic to today. Chris.
Thanks, Monica. And as she said, very excited to be here and to get the story out to an even wider audience, because I've been a user of BeMyEyes in its original form and in its current AI forms for some years now, and it's certainly changing my life as from an accessibility point of view. But to have the founder of the organization, Hans, with us, and Jesper from a CTO point of view is very exciting. So Hans, perhaps could you kick us off by just giving us a brief history of BeMyEyes, where it came from, and where it is today?
Did you say brief?
Yeah, briefly. Yeah.
First of all, thank you for having us. It's a great honor to be on your podcast and so on. Yes, 12 years ago, it's a long time ago, I came up with this idea, being blind myself. I was working for the Danish Blind Federation, and my job was to introduce other blind people and low vision people to audiobooks and the Federation and so on. And in that period of time, I came across quite a few of the more tech-savvy people, and they were telling me about how they were using the new iPhone, and how they were making FaceTime calls to friends and family and so on. And then one day, a person said to me, but I always have to call someone, meaning I have to think about who to call, are they available, and so on. And then I was thinking, oh, maybe we can make a group you can call. I'm not a tech person at all, but I kind of knew it was possible to do it. I did not know how to make an app or anything. So I went back home and I made a FaceTime call together with my daughter, and she was guiding me around the house. So I closed my eyes and I walked out of the door, and she was guiding me all the way around the house. And I clearly remember when I came back and I said to her, "Now place my hand on the door handle," and she did. And then I knew, okay, you can actually guide a person remotely using a technology like FaceTime. And then I went to an event called Startup Weekend, where I presented this idea. And I was lucky to find some people who joined my little team. It's a long story, but we managed to raise some money, and we managed to find some people who could actually build an app. And also, I mean, back in 2013, there was not that many apps for blind people. So also finding people like Jesper, he was not around at the time, but people who were willing to look into accessibility and so on was kind of difficult. But we managed to find some, and we managed to develop the app, and then we spent quite a bit of time doing this. And I think one of the most important things we did in the beginning was to rent an office in one of the biggest institutions for blind and low vision people in Denmark. So every time we needed a new test person, we could just open the door and basically ask the first one who went by, please come in and try do this and that. And then that's how we developed BeMyEyes together with the Danish blind community. And I think that's super, super important that you always have the people involved that you are actually building something for. We're a strong believer of nothing about us without us. I'm sure it has made BeMyEyes a lot better, and also it made the process easier. So that's kind of how we were working in the beginning. On January 2015, we launched. And it was an amazing start because we managed to get into the national television here in Denmark. Within 24 hours, we had 1,000 blind people signed up. We were completely blown away, and 10,000 volunteers. And then within the next few weeks, we had 10 double those numbers. And suddenly we were, or BeMyEyes was the talk of the town. And we were in a lot of tech media. And then soon after came newspapers and radio stations and even the television and so on, and all over the world. So we got a totally amazing start that any startup is dreaming about. And then we got it up and running, and everybody was excited about it. We did not really have a business plan, but we decided that BeMyEyes should be absolutely free, simply because we believe that eyesight should be free, and also because it is actually volunteers who are doing the work. And also, and maybe the most important thing is that most of the blind people in this world, they live in the so-called global south. A lot of them cannot afford to pay a monthly subscription. So we decided that BeMyEyes should always be a free service. And I'm proud to say that we have kept that promise, and we intend to keep it also in the future. But we still need to make some money in order to pay the salary and the servers and so on. So one of my colleagues came up with this idea about making what we now call a service directory, where you can call a volunteer on BeMyEyes, but you can also go into service directory and you can call a company like Microsoft or Google or LinkedIn or Spotify if you have some issues with one of their products. And that means you can call directly to somebody who's working at that company and ask them for assistance. And these companies are so happy about working with BeMyEyes, so they are willing to pay a monthly subscription to be on the BeMyEyes platform. One of the smallest companies in the world, BeMyEyes, has Microsoft, who's one of the biggest, as our customer, which is kind of funny. But that is how we can keep BeMyEyes as a absolutely free service for every blind person in the world who wants to use BeMyEyes. We are proud that we can. Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I mean, what an amazing story, as you said. And today, just jump forward to today, and you mentioned the first 24 hours of 1,000 blind people and 10,000 volunteers. What are the numbers today?
Well, I believe we have crossed 680 something thousand globally in 185 different languages, blind and low vision people, and 7.5 million volunteers globally. Coming from a small country like Denmark with 5.8 million people, so I'm super proud to say that we have more volunteers than we have citizens in Denmark, which is kind of mind blowing for me at least.
Mightily impressive. And yes, but just for the people listening and watching, can you just talk us through that process that Hans talked about? Because we're using, obviously fairly simply, using the iPhone or the smart device as the eyes of the visually impaired person. How is it working technically?
So technically, like the blind or low vision user will use their smartphone. So we support both iOS and Android. They'll use their smartphone to place a call. So when you open the app, the first thing you see, if you can see, or the first thing you swipe through, if you're using VoiceOver, which is what the typical blind user will use, is a button that says "Call a volunteer." When you hit that button, we go in, we look, where is Chris in the world right now? Who do we have volunteers close to Chris who speak the same language as Chris has chosen in our app? And then we find from the 7.6 million volunteers, we find someone who's available close to you. So there's lower latency over the network. Again, who speaks the same language and hasn't had a call like 5 minutes ago. And then we send out, typically we find about 20 of those, and we send out push notifications to their smartphones. They've also installed the BeMyEyes app. And then they get a push notification that says there's a person on BeMyEyes looking for your assistance. And when they click that push notification, the app opens up and immediately starts to call. And then we do what we call like a one-way video, two-way audio call. So we use the camera on the back of the blind person's phone, and we send the feed from that camera to the screen on the seeing person's, the volunteer's phone, so they can see what's in front of the blind person. And that's effectively how it works. And then they can communicate over the audio feed on that call.
And I'll give you a very practical example. When we met physically in Copenhagen in June, I was staying in a hotel, could not control the air conditioning, and I used BeMyEyes call to call someone, point my phone at the aircon control, and they guided my finger, much in the same way that Hans' daughter guided his hand to the doorknob and set it to the right temperature. So very quick, very effective, and just incredibly useful. I think that's why it resonates so readily with people, because it is just so incredibly useful.
It would be useful for me too sometimes, because
It would
you can
sometimes,
figure it
Monica.
out. But this is an amazing story, because not only the app is useful, the story behind it is just amazing. But that's only the first half. So you're embarking now in the second half, where it's even more exciting. Can you tell us about the present?
Well, the next step, if you mean the AI
yes.
part of it, is it's also kind of a fascinating story, because I think on February 1st or 2nd last year in 2023, we simply got a phone call from OpenAI asking us if we wanted to look at their model that could describe images. And to be honest, I was a little skeptic, because we have seen some of this before and it wasn't really that good. But then we got a chance to actually try out what OpenAI has made. And we were completely blown away by the level of details they could describe images with. So we very quickly said yes, but we also said that BeMyEyes is a free service, and it has to be that way still. Are you okay with that? And they were. So that's why we can keep also that part of it as a free service for everyone. And Jesper can tell you more about the technical details of how it is working. But it was OpenAI who reached out and gave BeMyEyes access to this model as the only company, not only in the blind community, but at all. Nobody else than BeMyEyes was using this model for quite a long period. And this also made me very proud that suddenly the whole blind community was in the forefront of what everybody was talking about in the beginning of 2023, and that was totally amazing. So yeah, but over to you, Jesper.
And
Yeah,
do you think that
Sorry,
eventually?
go on, Jesper.
Oh,
Jesper.
sorry. Just go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah, so like if you think about how the call works, this is similar. We use the camera on the phone. So we simply added the new functionality to the same app, the BeMyEyes app, and the user will now, if they click on what we call BeMyAI, you're presented with a camera view again. And now you can then, with that, you can take a photo, and you don't need to know specifically like where you're pointing it, because I think that's the first question you read is like, is the blind person, like, how do they use a viewfinder? You don't, as long as you're pointing it sort of in the right direction, take a photo, and then we take that photo and we send it to OpenAI and their GPT-4 with Vision. It was called back then. Now we all just call it GPT-4. Send it to their API, and it will then come back with a description of the image. And we prompt the model. We tell it that that the model is helping out likely a blind or low vision person, and it should describe this image that they're sending in. And then what comes back is often a wonderful, very full description of those images. Like, I'm to this day, I'm still blown away of some of the examples that we see. And a year and a half ago, we were, extremely impressed, because up until then, it had more been like, if you took a photo, gave it to a vision model, it would tell you, there's 3 pieces of fruit in the photo, but nothing about what those pieces of fruit were or anything, or there's a dog in the photo. Right now, it can tell you that there's a dog, which color it has, which color the collar of the dog is wearing. We've even seen it say, the dog has a curious expression on its face, and like there's all, it adds all these nuances. And that's effectively like how it works. You get a description back on the first photo. Then if you need more details, it may not immediately just give you what you're looking for. You can ask follow-up questions, and that works effectively just like a chat interface. So just like if you're sending messages back and forth with the WhatsApp or iMessage or whatever. And again, if you're a blind user, you will use VoiceOver to have the which is a screen reader, to have the text read out, and then you'll typically use dictation to get the text into, to get your questions into, or some people also can do braille typing on the phones. And we've done that now for, again, we had a very long beta, as Hans described, where we involved a lot of our users. I think at the end of the beta, we had 19,000 users providing input and testing the model. So we also influenced how the model works today, and how good it is at describing people and faces, and just because initially there was we were going down the path, or like the OpenAI and other vendors of these large language models were going down a path of restricting the models, because there's all these regulations around the world around data privacy and biometrics that make it difficult for these companies to handle the images with people and then process them and give you descriptions back of how people look. But we were able to influence that and push it in the direction of opening up the model, so you can actually get a description of a person's face and how they look. At one point it was looking like you could get a much fuller description of your pet than of your kids, which was all obviously a sad place to be. So luckily we were able to influence that. So the models today are much more open, and we also have a little bit more of an open access to the model, where we can bypass some of the restrictions to get even more descriptions of people and their appearances.
Yes, but what is interesting is that if you ask it about people's age, the system seems reluctant to put an age on you, whereas about 6 months ago or a year ago, it will give you an estimate of the age. So I think the model has also been tempered a little bit, not to offend people about how old they might or might not look.
Yeah, but it's kind of, if you ask, I find it much like if you ask a person. Like if you ask them, how old is Chris? I'll say, I don't know, but I can make a guess, right?
Exactly.
So I find often if you ask the model, like, how old would you guess this person is? Like,
exactly.
then it's more likely to respond.
And I think one of the really important things to mention here is that, we've had OCR, we've had optical character recognition for quite some time in different applications. What that tends to do is just give you everything that when you're looking at, say, and I'm not suggesting I only use BeMyEyes for looking at wine labels, but it is one of the major uses of BeMyEyes. But it reads out to you the almost relevant information rather than, if you're looking at a food packaging, you don't want all the other stuff. You want the cooking ingredients. So you refine it and ask that question, and it answers you very much in the manner of that. If a human was doing it for you.
Now, can you use, right now you're using photographs, so, you can just send, I guess, different shots, but do you envision a time where we're going to have like a movie a video, so that you just move around and it will tell you, just move around, move left, move, whatever?
Obviously, definitely, like that is, OpenAI and also Google with their Gemini model has already shown this, that they have this in their, in very early, in a very early stage. So because of, a video is just it's just a number of images shown in rapid succession, right? So it's just really a question of how many of those images can you process, and how expensive that's going to be, how much GPU is it going to use, can you move it over the network? This is definitely the way that it's going, and it's one of the directions and one of the things that we already know is coming. Whether it will be coming to all apps and apps like BeMyEyes is still to be seen, and in what form, right? It might be more like a call than a camera app when we can do this. So you would call the AI instead of calling a volunteer. But that's something we're still thinking about.
And what is fascinating is that the GPU processing and the response time, because in the example that when I'm using it from my screen here on, which of course we should say is now available on Windows as well. So very, very useful to be able to for me as a blind person to see what a screen looks like, to look at a slide when it's being presented, or to look at the layout for this sort of thing. And the response time, you've managed to gradually get that down. What is your target for that, for usability or for best results for someone? Because when it plays that sort of music, so where are we on that response time?
I think we've worked with various iterations of the model from the very early days when we got sort of alpha access from OpenAI, and some of them have been a bit faster than what we're using right now. And I think there's a threshold when you get under 5 seconds. If you can do like 2, 3, 4 seconds response, it feels like you're having a relatively sort of natural, like it feels like you're typing. You're texting with another person, or you get, these like fairly quick responses. But of course, when we go to video, the demos that we've seen, the proof of concepts we've seen now are much faster, right? They are almost instantaneous, and they typically are multimodal, right? So you can both. They can both process audio and video and text. So you can talk to the model at the same time that it's looking at the video from your camera.
Okay.
And it becomes just a very fluid experience where it's almost like you're just, you're talking to a human. You can interrupt it, and you can change. If you change your mind, you can change your mind, and it'll really it'll just describe what's going on the screen. So, I think this is we're in the very early days of AI, and it's only going to get, was it like faster, stronger, better? I think, or faster and also cheaper in the future, and also going towards on-device models, which is I think one of the big things that are coming. which we can't really leverage right now because we want to reach as many users as we can.
Now, before you go on, you guys that are listening to us, you don't have to believe Jaspers, because we have a demo which we just recorded, and it shows exactly what's going on right now on Chris' screen. So, you will hear a description of what's going on Chris's screen, and, we can talk about it forever, but to hear and, how accurate and fast it is absolutely mind-blowing. So have a look at the demo now. Okay, Chris, go ahead and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
All active speaker video selected. Screen sharing meeting controls. You have started screen share. Press F6 to switch between open Zoom windows. Task switching. Zoom Workplace Inbox Chris Lewis Demo inclusively with BeMyEyes. Zoom Personal. Microsoft Edge inclusively with Alt Control H. BeMyEyes. The image is a presentation slide titled Inclusively with BeMyEyes, Creating a More Accessible World with IE. It features 4 individuals. 1. Hans Jorgen Weiberg, founder of BeMyEyes. 2. Jesper Ring Henriksen, CTO of BeMyEyes. 3. Chris Lewis, founding director of Lewis Insight. 4. Monica Paolini, principal of SensorPhilly. There is a logo for SensorPhilly and Lewis Insight on the slide. Additionally, there is a small video call window showing Chris Lewis. The top of the screen indicates that screen sharing is active. Back button. Task switching, inclusively with BeMyEyes, inclusively with volume level playback, progress bar exit full screen play button, mute volume level, playback speed, playback model exit full screen BeMyEyes. Screen sharing meeting controls, screen share, mute, currently audio, stop video alt V button, open parties, more options, chat all date, more options, new share option, pause share, annotate button, show meeting, more button, Dr. Bottom, stop share all that, expand screen share, mute, currently audio settings button, stop video alt V button. Video settings button, open participants, more options for participants, chat all day, more options, new share all shift S, share option button drop, pause share all, annotate button. Show meeting button, more button drop down, Dr. Bottom button. Stop share all S button.
So Hans, just to pick, obviously when you see that in working, and I do love the fact it's now available on Windows, and I do use it multiple times daily on my iPhone and on my Windows device. What do you envisage for the future? Because you've come through an incredible journey already since you had the idea using FaceTime and moving on, and you've impacted so many people's lives. Do you see a next big thing, or is the AI thing going to keep us busy for the next 10 years plus?
Well, Jesper can confirm that we have a very long list of ideas. So, but we spoke a little bit about it, and what Chris, you and I, what we have been dreaming about is that we can point our phone at anything and have a live description, and we have seen it is possible to do that. We still have to see if it is possible to provide that to all blind people and have them use it all day long, because there are some computer issues or power issues with that. But I believe that maybe not next month, but in a rather short period of time, it will be possible also in a more or less sustainable way to provide that kind of information or service to our blind users. And then you can ask, yeah.
You make the very important point with, and it sort of worries me that we talk about having your phone out in front of you and taking pictures, because that becomes a bit of a security issue for a lot of visually impaired people. And I know when we met in Copenhagen, Jesper, you had the Meta glasses, and I've been trying Meta glasses. Do you believe it will be some sort of smart glasses combined with the smartphone, combined with the SLM and the LLM that's going to actually deliver this in the next few years?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, the glasses are basically a camera connected to the phone, or maybe not even to the phone. And if you could do it on the phone, you should also, over time, be able to do the same thing with glasses. And that's just more handy to have the camera on your face, so you can use both hands, and you have a white cane and a guide dog and so on. So you have your hands full anyway. So so that will be, but it's more of a matter of time before we can put that much into a pair of glasses, and I believe we are pretty close with what we have seen lately. So yeah, absolutely.
And Jesper, any thoughts from the CTO point of view on glasses and what they can do?
I think they'll be, again, they will also just become better and better, right? It's like still it's quite limited what can be done on device, but that the companies that are making glasses and smart glasses, they are shipping new models yearly now, and every time they ship a new model, they become better, right? So there are quite serious constraints right now on the network connectivity and mostly the power consumption on them. But that's rapidly improving. But I also think there will be other kinds of wearables. Some of you might have seen the Humane device that was launched a while ago. There's also this like Friend device that just came out, which is a camera and a necklace that you wear, so that you always have with you. So I think there are many cases where where a wearable, as Hans described, is just much better because you might have, either your white cane or your guide dog or something else in your hands, and the fact you can be hands-free and just walking down the street with a $1,000 device in your hands,
Dangling,
and not because anyone's going to steal it, but also because you could drop it. Just so wearables make a lot of sense, and we can see now that it's actually possible. Right?
Good. I totally agree, and I'm very excited about it. So,
let me ask you a question about before we forget, because Chris raised the issue of privacy, security, and all that, and it just seems like clearly you want to also protect both the users and what's going on, and so wouldn't it be an advantage if the mobile operator is somewhat filtering or providing access to the app with the additional security and privacy that you'd be afforded if you say the network APIs, for instance? So instead of just you using the app, you just get the operator to facilitate that, to provide an additional layer of privacy and security.
Good question. And before you answer that, Jesper, can I add a little bit into the mix?
Sure.
I was talking to someone who is very heavily involved in producing major conferences, and they were asking me about accessibility and inclusive design. And I was talking about BeMyEyes and talk about smart glasses. And he said, well, surely you'll be able to just recognize that your glasses will recognize that Monica is walking across the room to you. So can we build that level of privacy, security, accessibility into it, or is that a step too far?
Well, I think first of all, I think like the vendors that are providing the models today, they are very focused on privacy and security, and I think we're comfortable with that. Like we know that they don't train on the data that we send them, like because the models are like GPT means the generative pre-trained, so the models are already trained, so they don't have to use that data. And also the data that used for training models, in particular vision model, it needs to be labeled. Like there actually needs to be humans involved in labeling the images before you can train a vision model. But of course it is like you have to process the images today. You have to process them on somewhere in the cloud because it requires intense amounts of GPU. But so I think from a privacy perspective, where this will ultimately go is that the very best privacy you get is if it stays on device, and I think that's where the world is moving today. If you want, you cannot get the state-of-the-art vision models on your mobile device or even on your laptop. But that's a question that within some years that will be possible as well. And then you have, I think, the sort of the ultimate in privacy, and it will also make the experience faster because a lot of the latency that you described, Chris, that we see today, it's not just because the AI model is processing your image, right? It's also because there's latency on the network. We're transferring the image from your phone into the cloud in order to be processed. And if you can remove that, you already have a better experience.
Yeah, brilliant. And so Monica's introduced the potential role of mobile providers. And one thing, when Hans, you touched upon the LinkedIns and the Googles and Spotify and the like, providing service as a sort of service desk. It occurs to me that when we're talking in the telecom world, which is where Monica and I spend most of our time, that actually providing a service desk support into telcos could be an incredibly powerful addition to the customer experience for people with vision impairment. And have you come across that already? Are there examples in your mind where you might work with the local telco to provide support?
Well, first of all, the telco is our way into all this. I mean, BeMyEyes can only work if we have good internet connection and so on. So it's a super important part of everything these days. And if you, as a blind person, have a Wi-Fi router in your house and you need to set it up and so on, I mean, it can be really difficult to, as a blind person, to read the code on the back of the Wi-Fi box and so on, and that's where we would like to have a more closely relationship partnership with telco companies, so we can help telco companies help their blind customers being set up and ready to go. And if we can expand that to other parts of this relationship, we are more than happy to look into that. Absolutely.
Maybe I can add, Chris, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
So we already work with, and we have a Sky Island in our service directory. So Sky Island customers can actually make calls to troubleshoot their Sky Island products. And I think it's one of the cases where just having that visual component makes it a lot easier, for the person calling, but also for the support agent in the other end. Like, if you imagine, I think, it might be better to ask a question for you, Chris, but like, if you have an issue with your mobile router, right? Is it correctly plugged in? Like, I often don't even know, right? There's 5 different identical plugs that I can use on that device, right? Is it plugged correctly in? Is the light green or red? Like, and if you then have that camera pointing at it, and the Sky Island customer support agent can actually see what's going on, it just means that they can solve those issues so much quicker than if they're troubleshooting just by phone.
Yeah, and also, you think in the future where that broadband connection becomes an essential part of social care or even healthcare. Obviously in the broadband world, you may be reducing the truck roll, or you may be able to make installation a lot easier without having an engineer go out. So it's going to save the telco organization or the organization cost of that engineering role, but supporting it ongoing, it just becomes incredibly important. So yeah, I can see many ways of it becoming. And yeah, there's nothing more frustrating as a blind person, Hans, I'm sure you'll agree, when the person on the service there says, "Is it flashing yellow, green, or red?" You go, "Yeah, chance would be a fine thing if I could tell that." So yeah, I totally agree. I think there's but tell me, in terms of the way it works, because at the moment you would go in through the BeMyEyes app to the service desk and then select whichever telco you're working with. Could it also be done through the local telco's app? Because obviously one of the issues we face in the telecom industry is people want to be they want to get you through their apps, so you buy adjacent services, you upgrade, and so on and so forth. Is there a limitation on that, or I should be straight up and say to you, I would prefer to go in through the BeMyEyes app. It's a much simpler interface, and most companies' apps are not very simple interfaces. But have you come across both examples?
So we get those requests, and you just made the point I was going to make, Chris, because what we tell in those cases is that what we specialize in is building an app that is as accessible as we can possibly make it. And the typical telco is not, or any of our other customers are typically not in that line of business, and they have apps that accommodate a wide range of users and have often have a very wide range of features. So it just the typical app will not be as accessible as BeMyEyes can be. So what we recommend is that we support deep linking, which just means that you can launch the BeMyEyes app from another app or from the web, and you can go directly to the profile of that company. So if you are that telco, you can have a BeMyEyes link on your support page, and if the person, then your customer, is browsing that on their smartphone and they click the link to get support via BeMyEyes, it's just if you already have the app installed, it opens up with the telco's profile in our app, and you just click call. And if you don't have it installed, of course, it'll go through the App Store, the Play Store, and make you install the app. So,
Yeah.
and I think that gives us the best of both worlds, because we know that all the companies want to have, as you described, a tight relationship with their customers, but we also want to give this, make sure that it's an accessible experience as best we can.
Absolutely, and I think we should add for people listening to us that we talk about the blind people, but actually there's a massive overlap with the elderly population who may not be as tech savvy, and it might be a much simpler interface to provide them with help, and they form a big proportion of many telcos customer base. So yeah, I think there's a strong argument for including this and of course because the contact center and the whole customer experience has gone digital, it's much more dynamic, and obviously AI plays a massive role in allowing us to translate between different and jump between different channels. In that way, it's just a natural progression from there. But yeah,
and that's a good point, by the way, that we should talk about. So just as we have two different for the free features in the app where you can call a volunteer, or the user can use BeMyAI to get image descriptions. We offer the same. We offer both calling functionality, but we also offer the AI functionality for our corporate customers. So if you're a telco and you say, well, I'm a little worried that this is gonna turn into a lot of calls from BeMyEyes users, we can actually front the calling service with BeMyAI, and we have seen some very impressive resolution rates with AI. Microsoft, again, one of our largest customers, are seeing resolution rates up towards 70% of the AI interactions. Right. It's effectively call deflection with AI, and it works extremely well. Also, in many of the uses that we see.
And it does raise a question which I've come across quite a lot, which is when a customer identifies as being blind or needing assistance, shall we say, and perhaps we even expand the audience for this service by, I need assistance, I can't see what I'm doing, rather than being just for blind people. It will help people in many different circumstances.
Yeah, and I think that you raise an important point, Chris, that you don't have to qualify as anything. I mean, as belonging to a specific group. You just say, I just want to use it. You don't have to explain it, which I think, as you say, it's gonna make it easier for people to just say, well, that's going to be useful, so I'm going to use it. Because for instance, some elderly people might feel like, I'm not elderly, I'm not impaired, you know what I'm saying, you just feel like I'm still okay, and which is fine, but you know what I'm saying, you don't need to kind of decide where you fit in that kind of group. You just say, well, that would actually be useful if somebody could help me.
Do you know, Monica, what I think what this emphasizes is that in much of the early research I did around the subject, a lot of the technology was designed within one, even subcategory of vision impairment or hearing impairment, or whatever. What I love about this example is actually it expands to reach out to lots of other sorts of people.
Yes.
And Hans, I don't know whether do you see that already as being an issue, that you're addressing a much broader audience than just the blind community?
Well, BeMyEyes is, of course, as the name says, made for blind and low vision people. But I know that not a huge number, but we also have people who are colorblind who are using BeMyEyes, and they are more than welcome to do that. We also have people with dyslexia who are asking our volunteers to read something, and that's also perfectly okay. And I mean, we do not ask you how well you see or why you signed up, and you are also absolutely anonymous. So you can pretty much sign up and pretend to be blind if you want to. And if we can provide good assistance to someone who needs that, that's perfectly fine. Of course, the volunteers will expect to help a blind person. But if you make a call, say, I'm not blind, but I need help with this, would you be willing to do that? No problem at all. As long as you behave like a decent person, we are open to helping basically anyone. So yeah, absolutely.
I think we have to agree, Monica. This has been one of the most inspiring things that we brought onto the Inclusively platform, and I'm sure it will generate a massive amount of interest, and certainly within our telco community, trying to get them to embrace it and build it into their customer experience for all sorts of customers. But Hans, first of all, congratulations on getting BeMyEyes to the level you've got it. It's phenomenally helpful. I say I'm a daily user. Yes, but congratulations on making all the technology work, and we really look forward to the next shift towards that conversational video-based AI analysis when we're having a real-time conversation with it. And we look forward to getting many different sorts of feedback, and look forward to the next level when all those wearables, whether it's a necklace or smart glasses, start to come through. But thanks for your time today, and look forward to many more interactions. Monica, over to you to close.
Thank you so much, and thank you all for listening and watching to this Inclusively. And yes, as Chris said, we have been trying to do this for a long time because we were excited for so long about the BeMyEyes story. We will have more Inclusively events, and here is a link so that you can figure out what is that we will be doing next. And thank you so much. And also have a look, because we always look to have inputs in terms of what topics you'd like us to discuss. If you have suggestions for guests or other things, please let us know. Thank you so much for listening to us.